Tiger fans, pick 38. It's the pick that we need to work out who could still be there by the time it gets to that point in the draft coming up in a couple of weeks. We know what we want at pick 3 and 4. We know the players that are going to be there, but let's talk about today the ones that are going to be there later on in the draft that we can have a look at. Now, before we get stuck into it, make sure you like and subscribe for more Richmond and draft content. We're on our way to 4,100 subs on YouTube, which will be massive to hit by the time we get to draft night. So we appreciate all the love and support. But in regards to pick 38, I think the first thing we need to discuss very quickly is that pick 38 on draft night will actually come in a bit further than what it is right now. So it could potentially end up being pick 31 to 33 by the time it's our turn to use it, which is a big difference. And the reason why it will do that, because I've seen a lot of people argue the other way, saying that it's going to get pushed out to 40 and 50, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And the reason why it's not going to be the case and that it will come in is because all of these players that are being bid on by other clubs, like Academy Tide, Father Son, etc., these players will require multiple picks to be absorbed so they can match the bids, which means any picks that are used to absorb a bid prior to number 38 will bring our pick in further down the line. So, for example, Zeke Uland, going to get bid on pretty early, we can all pretty much guarantee. They might need to use 3 picks, they being Gold Coast, on Zeke Uland, so our pick could move down 2 spots in that one. Dan Annable for the Lions, he'll be another one that gets bid on quite early. The Lions may need to do some shuffling to get some more points to be able to match bids, but when that's all said and done, they could use 4 to 5 picks before our 38 to match that bid, so our pick could move down another 2 to 3 spots. Dylan Patterson, another one that's going to get bid on really early, you would imagine. The Gold Coast Suns are going to have to use about 3 picks before our pick 38 to select him and match any bids there. So that means our number 38 moves down another 2 to 3 spots. That's not including any potential bids that come in for Harry Dean, Max King and Adam Swede for Essendon, which could all still bring that pick in a little bit further again by 1 or 2, depending on if multiple picks are needed to match the bid. So I think the final outcome could be about 31 to 33 is where our pick could end up, which is awesome. That means there's going to be some good players available. But who are those players? What are the player types? Who are we looking at that we could take at pick 31 to 33, whatever that looks like? I've got 4 names today I want to go through. We're going to roll some highlight footage over each of them as well. So a massive shout out to Footy Stuff, who do an amazing job on the footage. But the 4 players who I think will be of the most interest, and there's going to be plenty of others that I don't name here today, so feel free to let me know in the comments below who you would like us to have a look at 31 to 33, whichever the pick is. Let us know your thoughts on who you want. The first one on my list, though, is Fred Rodriguez. So Fred was the captain of WA, 184cm midfielder, and he was touted on the higher end of the draft before 2025. He has fallen off a lot of radars, it must be said, with some putting it down to a lack of hurt factor and a little bit of disposal efficiency as well, which I know in modern football aren't great things to hear, but I think they're things that can also be corrected as well, being in a professional environment. And I think maybe just his lack of raw speed has also hurt him as well, but he does power run, which we'll talk about shortly. So it kind of, there's some really good facets to Fred's game that I think can benefit football clubs. In his Colts season, it was very, very good, averaging 25 disposals, 5.5 tackles and a goal per his 8 games. 2K combine result was 6 minutes 20 seconds, which placed him 7th overall, so very good on that front. Displays good power running and work rate, which leads to his consistent ball-winning ability. Out of 19 WA Colts games over the last 2 seasons, he's only been kept to under 20 disposals 3 times. So his ability to get from contest to contest and find the football is undeniable. He does it consistently time and time again. Has a load of running power, which allows him to get the job done defensively as well. And he wins his fair share of clearances. I think he averaged about 4 clearances in each of the Champs games. And like I said earlier, while he doesn't have raw pace, he does have the strength and hardness to break away from congestion. And if he can work on that explosiveness in the first 3 to 5 steps, that's going to help him quite a bit. He's a strong competitor and a leader. Played a bit forward as well, adding some versatility to his game. Now, leadership and being a strong competitor are typically traits that Richmond do look for in players. So I find that really interesting in that link to him. So maybe that's someone who could be on the radar. Will he still be there at that pick? I guess that's up for debate. Maybe he does go a little bit earlier. I feel like he might be thereabouts, though. His draft range suggests he could still be there. In terms of strengths, clean hands, consistency, dual-footed, leadership, running power, and work rate, and improvements, kicking efficiency, and speed. But Fred Rodriguez will definitely be one to keep an eye out for at that pick if he's still available. And I've got no doubt there'll be plenty of clubs having a very close look at him. Second on my list is Riley Onley. So Riley Onley is from the Murray Bushrangers / Vic Country, 195 centimetre midfielder. Now, before I get slapped for this one because we've already got a Josh Smiley, it's talent is talent, and I guess if you're to believe in what Blair and the club, their vision is of where the game's going to evolve to, it's these types of players that are midfielders. So that's why I've got him in here, because he is a talented kid. Touted on the higher end of the draft before 2025 as well. He was kind of in top 10, top 15 territory. I guess the drop-off for him, reading different notes from different people, sort of surrounded maybe the hurt and impact factor, as well as the consistency side of his game, which are things that can all be ironed out in a professional environment. So he's been playing senior football since he was 16, so he was a big boy fairly early. Played for Vic Metro Champs as a bottom ager and was selected for the under-17s futures and has done a pre-season stint with Collingwood, which is really interesting. He averaged 23 disposals, 4.8 marks at the Champs this year, and 4 clearances, which earned him an All-Australian selection. Now, earning All-Australian selection at the Champs is nothing to be sneezed at and is typically a really good indication of how well someone has performed in a high-level environment, and that it can typically, more often than not, translate into AFL football in an even higher professional environment. He received an invite to the Combine, but unfortunately was injured and couldn't test. However, in the pre-season, these players also do testing. And in the pre-season meet, he tested in the 20-metre sprint with a 2.88 seconds. He got 75 centimetres in the vertical jump and 98 centimetres in the running vertical jump, which would have actually placed him in the top 2 in each of those testing categories at this year's National Combine. So those results are super impressive. And, maybe he improved on some of those as the year went on. Maybe some slightly decreased as he got bigger and a bit stronger, a bit heavier, who knows? Either way, though, super impressive times and results. And I'm guessing all clubs would have access and knowledge of this as well, and will no doubt be keeping that in their back pocket when it comes to a pick around this mark. He's got pretty outstanding athleticism for someone who's 195 centimetres with plenty of upside. He's a bit of a one-touch play, doesn't tend to fumble too much, and he can make an impact up the ground as well. His combination of speed and power do make him difficult to stop when in full flight, which is kind of what I'm envisaging Josh Smiley to be like as well. And his clean hands allow for good clearance, extraction, while also being able to use it on the outside as well. As I mentioned, the outside polish has maybe been a bit of a knock on him this year, but like we've sort of said along the journey, that a lot of these kids, they will miss targets, right? They are going to have inaccurate kicking from time to time, and I think we sort of always compare to the absolute highest level of kickers that we've ever seen in our lifetime, but it's not always going to be the case for each of these kids, but something that can be worked with, that's for sure. His combination and speed and power make him difficult to stop, and consistency will be the key for Onley in his next step as he bridges that gap. He'll become a better player and can sometimes do with a bit more polish, like we said before, with disposal. Strengths, athleticism, clean hands, power, size, speed, and upside, improvements, competitiveness, and endurance. So things that can kind of really be taught, I guess. But I do think Riley Onley will be one at this draft range that a lot of clubs will consider, given that he was touted so highly earlier. Maybe clubs have been happy for him just to slip off the radar a little bit and blend into the mix, but he will be another one thereabouts. Third on my list is Matt Laray, who is from the Central Districts in South Australia. He is a 188 centimetre winger, which is a very, very specific need for Richmond, as we all know. Look, I would love Harley Barker to be in this spot, but the reality is that Harley Barker is not going to be there at pick 31 to 33. He will have gone much, much earlier, but Matt Laray is no slouch. He is the partner in crime to Harley Barker and did a fantastic job in the Champs. A tall midfielder, capable of playing in each third of the ground with his work rate and dual-sided kicking. Laray, he's actually a late comer to football. Or being his full-time sport anyway, very similar to Sam Lawley. He was dual-sported with cricket and football, and he was actually the captain of the South Australia under-19 cricket side last year. So he does obviously have a lot of leadership traits as well in an elite environment and having captained the side. And 2025 was actually Matt Laray's first pre-season of football, well, his first full one anyway. So I guess in the same vein as Lawler, there's a lot of scope and improvement for Matt Laray on that front, which I think will excite a lot of clubs. He averaged 16.8 disposals, 5.8 marks, and 2 tackles at the Champs this year for South Australia, earning him All-Australian selection on the opposite wing to Harley Barker, which made complete sense because they just utterly dominated everybody. In 2024, Laray made 11 under-18 appearances for Central as a bottom ager, which is really impressive, and he was in the under-18 squad, showcased himself on Grand Final day in 2024, playing in the Futures match as well. So he's ticking all the boxes in all of these rep type of football games and playing at a higher level, even at those moments in time before he'd even done a full pre-season of football. So he's got the knack of it. Heading into 2025, Laray did spend some time with the Adelaide Crows, which set himself for a pretty big year. He played in the All-Australian side against the 2 VFL opponents. He captained Central Districts for the under-18s, and he did make a reserves debut later on in the year and took out All-Australian honours, like we mentioned, on the wing, and it was a pretty successful campaign for South Australia. Clubs are definitely aware that he's got a lot of untapped potential, having very little to full-blown exposure at the AFL pre-season elite environment, much like Lawler, like we said. But his exposure to multiple positions, giving him that greater versatility and his willingness and desire to work on deficiencies, it just showcases his character and his leadership qualities, which, as we've said in a lot of other videos, that is something that Richmond rate really, really highly. So I'm not going to be surprised if he's higher up on our board because of the leadership and character traits that he has above anything else. That's like more of a bonus that he can play footy at a really good level. While still building on his endurance, he reads the play fairly well, and he is able to track back and help in defence, while also getting into attacking space to make his own counter-attacks when the ball is turned over. Has really good repeat efforts and pressure acts, and that speaks volume of his work rate. Not afraid to put his body on the line, which you'd love to see as a supporter. Clean overhead, good below the knees. He can pretty much do it all, to be honest. Look, I don't know if he's actually going to last to this pick. I'm living in a little bit of hope that someone like this will get there, and if he does, he's going to be very, very much in calculations. Strengths, clean hands, dual-footed, leadership, upside, versatility, work rate, improvements, decision-making, and endurance. But the decision-making and endurance will come by being more embedded in a professional environment, and because of the type of person he is with his willingness to learn and his willingness to improve on his deficiencies, I see those things being worked on and being turning into strengths very quickly, put it that way. So Laray, for me, is a very, very attractive prospect at that pick if he lasts that long. The final selection I've got to keep an eye out for at pick 31 to 33, whatever that may look like, is Jai Murray, which he is a Suns Academy tied player. So I guess the risk here is, I don't think the Suns are going to have enough points to match a bid on Jai, but they may be able to acquire points on the night to scrounge something together to be able to match. So there is that risk, but on the surface, it does feel a little bit unlikely. So Jai Murray, Suns Academy, 187 centimetre mid/defender. However, he's made most of his waves in the football world playing on the wing. So I have deliberately targeted 2 wingers as my last 2 picks because I think they are the most targeted positions that we can go for that will be of the greatest benefit to us in the long term. Smooth-moving, versatile prospect. He uses the ball with poise and penetration. So out of the crop, Jai seems like the most well-rounded in terms of kicking efficiency, skill, poise, decision-making. He has all of that already, which is good. Jai could be one of the hidden gems in this year's draft, and in a draft that's deemed a bit more even and maybe falls off a bit later on, the clubs are going to be looking for diamonds in the rough, and I've got no doubt there is more than just a handful of clubs that will have their finger on the pulse of Jai Murray in the draft. He did have an injury in 2025, which did hamper his campaign, but he did make All-Australian in the under-15s and under-16s. He played 7 VFL games as a bottom ager in 2024, and he was selected in the Nationals future squad. In his 2 appearances this year, he averaged 23 disposals, 2.5 marks, and 7.5 tackles per game. So loves the defensive stuff. Similar to Taj Houghton in a lot of ways, that his draft stocks would have been much higher had he played out the full season, but it was a mid-foot injury after being caught up in a tackle that ended his season. And look, I haven't read anything nasty about the recovery. They just took a precautionary approach. But in that time, he kind of turned into a student of the game, using the Suns' facilities, I guess, and reviewed tape and footage just to really embed his knowledge of football. So he was still doing plenty in that space while having his time off. Murray does seem to have time on his side when he's got possession of the ball, even though he's not blessed. He's quick, but he's not the quickest in what the testing draft crop would be, if that makes sense. He's a slick mover who can step in and out of traffic really comfortably before showing great composure and decision-making. Murray played a lot of great football as a winger, but he has begun the transition into a midfielder as well, kind of in the mould of Noah Anderson. Even though he adapted well on the inside, his ability to hold his width as a winger, to make supportive runs and to make great decisions is obviously very, very appealing for clubs. And again, why I think it's very appealing for Richmond in particular, because that's what we need for long term. As a midfielder, though, he can win first possession, can absorb pressure before releasing or zipping through traffic. Sometimes have the tendency to get caught when there's like monster amounts of pressure, and it just got a little bit too much, which did sometimes impact his effectiveness of his disposal as well. But I would hazard a guess that would happen to most players, whether they were young or old, so I'm probably not buying into that too much. Has really good footy IQ. He's a quick thinker and really, really good vision as well. And I mentioned the speed earlier. He has been working hard on the speed. I think he ran about a 3-second, 20-metre time, Rookie Me had mentioned in the pre-season. Overhead marking is another area of improvement to be added to his game, but there's going to be lots of clubs coming after him. And this is where the importance of bidding on Ueland and Patterson early are going to increase the chances of landing someone like Jai Murray later on in the draft. Unless they can conjure up some other picks to make it happen, it does feel less likely though. Strengths, ball use, class, decision-making, poise, size, versatility, improvements, contested marking, and speed. So there you go. There are 4 options that could be at our pick 31 to 32, which is formally 38 after it comes in. I know it sounds all a bit convoluted. And there's going to be plenty of other players out there as well at that range that could be better suited for us. They were just 4 of my favourites. But let us know what you think. Did any of those tickle your fancy? Anyone jump out that's as a player you'd love to have? Or is there someone else that I didn't have on my list that you think should be in calculation for that pick? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and until the next one, go Tigers.